So once you have your videos made, you have to figure out how you want to use them in class. And there are a lot of different ways that you can use videos during your class or outside of your class or as part of your class to increase your actual working time. And the key to this, again, same with making the videos, there is no one right way to do this. There are lots of different good ways. It depends on you. It depends on your students. It depends on what the topic is. There are lots of different factors that play into how you might use videos. And so you have to keep in mind that there is no one set, this is the way it has to be. You also have to keep in mind that something that may have worked for one topic may not work for other topics. And I'll give you some examples of that I've discovered in my classroom here in a couple minutes. So one way that you can use it is to actually replace lecture in class. So instead of you standing up at the front giving some notes, you can show a video of you giving notes instead. There are pros and cons to this. Pros, this gives you a chance to do other things. Maybe you need to take attendance. Maybe you need to collect some papers or finish setting up a lab. Whatever that may be, this allows you to technically be in two places at once because you've already recorded what you need to say to your students, so it leaves you free to do other things. It also leaves you free to watch your students. So personally for me, I find I'm a little bit more in tune to what my students struggle with when I'm going through the notes versus if I'm just standing up at the board because I can watch them the whole time. Cons to using this method is the kids find it kind of weird. My students get used to it over time, but they do find it a little bit odd. Like I said, there are some topics that this is useful for, some topics not so much. But that is one way you can use videos. You can do the typical flipped classroom method and your students can watch the videos as homework. So instead of doing practice problems, they're watching the video and then they can come into class with that information already have processed a little bit, and that gives you the time to answer questions, to work more practice problems, to do whatever you need to do. Pros to this is that you're taking out that note-taking time that seems to eat up a lot of our class time. And it gives you more time to have discussions, it gives you more time to do labs, it gives you more time to practice with your students. So it's the idea that instead of them practicing on their own at home, they're practicing with you in the class. So that's a major, major pro to having kids watch the videos outside of class. A con is that the success of this working really depends on your students and how frequently they do their homework. If they're a class that's usually pretty good about staying on top of their homework, this method might work well. If they're not, then they're not getting anything done. Another con would be if your kids don't have reliable wireless access. And that's something we found with some of our students. It's getting better in our district, but there are still a lot of our kids that don't have reliable internet access once they leave our school building. And we've gotten a lot better at making time in the day for them to access those things, but it's a work in progress, and it's not something that's super reliable. So personally for me, this isn't a method I use that often. Another way is to work at your own pace. So I've done this in classes that have a wide range of abilities, and this works great as a differentiation method. So you can design certain things so that students watch a video and then they complete a task, and you're there facilitating the whole thing. So it allows students to work on their own or in pairs or whatever you decide to work at their own pace through a topic. You can do this for a whole unit. I've done that before. I set checkpoints of like everybody has to reach this point by this day. How fast you reach there is up to you. Or you could do it just individual lessons. You could make it a work at your own pace lesson. So there are lots of ways that you can use videos to help differentiate. And then finally, there are the absences. And this is probably one of the biggest reasons I like using videos, and it saves me time and it helps my students stay on top of their work. I make sure that I have videos for everything that happens in my class. So whether it's a short video on a notes topic, or a tutorial video on how to solve different types of problems, or a video of a lab that we've done, my kids can use the videos to make up for when they're not there. This saves me time of having to reteach the same topic over and over and over again to kids who aren't there. It saves me time from having to keep labs set up forever for kids to make up lab experiences. It allows them to be a little bit more independent in making up their work, and they're a little bit more self-sufficient. And so that saves everybody time. And it's something that you build up the habit of, if you're gone, here's what we did. There's a video on YouTube. Go find it. Ask me questions. Or you missed a lab. The lab video is on YouTube, or it will be in the next day. Here's the procedure. You go watch the lab, take notes, and then you can participate in the discussion. So that's probably one of the big reasons why I like using the videos. Primarily, I use mine to replace lecture in class and for absent students.